part of it. Bids for staging pier and boat launch modifications, okay. We already kind of segued into that, we do have now 3 proposals for that staging pier, which is part of the budget thing we're gonna be talking about Wednesday. But the actual, pier itself, it'd be good to have at least an approval from the board, so it would be subject to budgeting, because we have to, figure out a way to pay for it. So, we had 3 of them. Let me see if I can locate all these. I think I summarized them. We had, from Complete Pier, not a temporary pier, but a permanent pier at $19,043.40. We had Somerset for a permanent pier at $20,392, and P2 Top Materials might be a little bit better on Somerset's. And then Aqueduct Dock was $24,190 and $36,260. The actual one that, was probably given the most traction so far was probably Complete Pier, but we had Aqueduct at the same time, and we said, let's get one more, and I forgot who made the recommendation, but Somerset then also produced the proposal. So if we're to approve one, the one that I was targeting was the Complete Pier at the $19,043.
I think Greg had marked that as his choice too, right?
That was before we got Somerset's bid.
Right.
There was a discussion about Somerset's bid, and I think Todd had mentioned that Somerset, the gauge steel that they use for their pipes is larger and thicker gauge.
Yes, it is.
Which-
It's a lot heavier duty than.
It's a lot heavier duty than Complete Pier, which I agree, but with the increase with the heavier duty materials, we might get more.
Paying for a buck.
Yeah, I did note that too.
It was just another thought on.
We also said, the note said that Somerset's been doing this longer,
Yeah, quite a bit.
quite a while, okay. So,
But it's not 500, it's 5,000.
no, it's $600.
From 19,000 to 24,000?
No,
No.
Somerset was $20,392.
And again, subject to our budgeting process, but it would be a great help there to, for some of the congestion that occurs down there. So, okay, I take it both of you gentlemen know 2 of the 3 people, you probably know all 3 of these people here. Is there any other discussion about business practices of any of these? No problems? I know they all been doing a lot of this work.
I know Complete Pier, they do nice work, I've seen their work, they're pretty quick as long as they have the materials, cause that's a big issue, I think, with a lot of things, and they can get stuff done. I've never heard anybody real complaints. I don't know anybody really anymore from Somerset, but in my opinion, I think if we're getting that thicker gauge steel and it's beefier, and you're dealing with ice heaves and wind, and you gotta save for the money. I would love to say Complete Pier, but I think Somerset might be a better option for us, in my opinion, for dollars and for the community, so.
I tend to agree with Chad.
Okay.
And, when I was down there visiting at the launch, Somerset had their barge there, and they look like they're the real deal. They definitely are in the business.
Okay. All right. Any comments on that? Okay, somebody wanna make a motion then? Looks like Somerset.
I'll make a motion that we, accept, Somerset Marine's proposal to install a permanent pier at the boat launch in the amount of, which I don't have in front of me.
$20,392. Subject to budgeting process, budget approval.
Budget approval.
All right, give a second.
I'll second.
You have a second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? 0, 4-0. Okay. This is the one here. All right, salt shed roof bids. We got 3 of them there. I stacked them in order of value here, discussion's gonna be similar to the Pierce, the product. James Taylor, proposal for $12,375.
Yes, when it comes,
Infinity, we gave, 2 versions, actually 3 versions, that range between 12,423 and 13,349. And then Simplify, 16,265. Now, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we did ask for a steel roof alternative just for the heck of it. And it came out to about 3 times the asphalt, it came in 49,500. And I think that would just be a bad decision, based on its environment. It's a salt shed, you don't get any harsher conditions. And steel is steel, yes, it's got protection on it, but it doesn't need much of a scratch with that environment to create a problem, so. I think we sort of thought last month that the steel we weren't gonna consider, so we'd be back to the asphalt, but we had 3 proposals that we could turn into a contract. Now, this money, already is in our fund for town hall improvements, so this would not be part of the budget process, this would be part of what we think should be done here. So again, it comes down to the quality of the product. Taylor's is complete, obviously, he does lots of this. He said, install Atlas Pinnacle Pristine Lifetime Dimensional Shingle. Because the shingle itself has a lifetime, warranty, but, in effect, the labor is what's guaranteed here, and I believe Taylor guarantees
10
10
years.
years. Labor. Alright, so in Infinity, we have 3 products. A lifetime limited warranty, a 50-year non-perforated material labor workmanship warranty, and then a 50-year non-prorated, material labor and workmanship warranty is the 3rd one. And, they do have weight differences, obviously, in their products, to go from 250 pounds per square to 250 and 235. I don't have a weight on Taylor's, but typically I would think he's in that 220 range, okay? The product itself, Atlas, it's all over the place. And then the 3rd one, Simplify, 25-year warranty materials, tear off and build a lifetime workmanship. So they all have a little bit different on workmanship, okay? But they all are also, what appears to be, using, different shingles themselves, okay? So, I don't know if you guys had any, discussion point on the product, or if we're looking at just cost here.
Well, there's 3 tab shingles on the roof now, and they've been there how many years, Todd?
Ballpark, mid to late 80s.
And now we're gonna have dimensional shingles, which are twice as thick, even if we're talking within a little bit of difference of product, so I don't know, I think that price is a good point. They're kind of dealing with the same thing, the dimensional, I know there is some difference, but they're 2 to 3 times thicker than a 3 tab, which lasts from sometime in the 80s to now. So I don't know if it's that big of a deal, because it is such a better product, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah, there's none of them are throwing a dog product at this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They all have warranties, it's a matter of how much. like I said, Taylor has got lifetime on the product and 10 years on labor. And, Infinity, they have, lifetime, their standard, and then a 50-year non-prorated material labor and workmanship warranty. And so, Infinity's got, longer warranty, but, face it, for something like that to get ruined, now we're talking about an insurance claim anyway, there would be an event,
For sure.
severe wind or severe hail.
Yeah, and that's a protected area, and the roof doesn't get that much exposure from the sun. I mean, it's the trees that just,
Yeah.
it's protected. It's gonna last a long time.
Trees block the sun.
And we got three, so we have a good cross section, I'm glad these are closer in our apartment, which is these, you can tell why they're different, you can tell why they're different, and what they're doing, Obviously Taylor, I got him to do a lot of work for me, and I like how he does business, that's a good thing. I don't know the other two people, but, they provided, complete, estimates, so, what do you think? I know you have.
yeah, I don't know,
some of this.
I may need to abstain on this one.
I think for a rough, if we're looking at something a little bit more high tech here, we get more into the weeds here. I don't think we have to, I think the price determines most of this here.
Stay local.
And that too, I don't know, what these other guys are from, Simplify is actually Waterco. And, Infinity is New Orleans.
James Taylor's done a lot of good, the same on Detroit.
They do contribute to the community
I
a
know,
lot.
that's what I mean. So maybe they need to be rewarded.
Well, I think that if we're looking at price point, they
win.
are the best price with,
Yeah.
really nothing to gripe at, as far as warranty. They all have pretty much the same material, so why don't we go with the price, we're dealing with apples to apples here, so I'll make a motion to, this is not for the budget, right?
No, this is already,
I'll make a motion that we, hire James R. Taylor to redo our salt shed roof at the price of $12,375.
do we have a second?
I'm sorry.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Fine.
Okay, one thing we will have to do, we want the color of the edging and the color of the shingles. Todd, why don't you work with Kim and your guys and see what you think. I'd imagine there's an opportunity to match this building, and that's two different ages out there, correct?
Yeah, with the addition that we did, or 10 years ago, probably 15 years ago.
So whenever you get the colors, get it to me, and then, I will sign this on behalf of the town board when I get that. Let's make a separate motion to authorize me to sign this contract.
I make a motion to authorize Chairman Osowski to sign the James R. Taylor contract.
One second.
Motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Zero. Okay. All right, police report, chief.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. On October the 5th, I submitted my report to each of you via email. I would ask that you accept the report as submitted, and included in that report was the traffic concern in Troy Hill Estates. Would anyone have any questions?
Not from the report, unless, no, did you have one report, I take it? Oh, you don't, okay. Then, in that case, I did have a discussion with Mr. Jacoby after the last meeting. He had two issues, one of them was the two stop signs at Contra County ES and Town Line Road, and of course that intersection's quite a school there,
Mhm.
hardware store, that's controlled by the county. Luckily, the next day, I had a meeting with the county and the railroad museum, and I brought that to his attention, and his first comments were, he said, I think we put the lit one up and somebody forgot to take the other one out. And I said, well, just so you know, Scott Seeger from the village thought 2 stop signs were better than 1. He said, no, we'll take that one out. And before I even got to your house, it was gone that same morning.
Yeah.
So he did it basically the same day that, I asked him to, or asked about it. But the secondary part is Troy Hill Estates, the subdivision here, now has some activity in it. It took a while to get off the ground, and I believe the chief's report is pretty self-explanatory. He actually says that, a couple of houses in there, he said there was 31 houses out of 60 lots. Where did I see that?
Page 2, says the 56.
All right, 30 out of 56, okay. And I asked John if it was possible he could pull his neighborhood there, to see what their thoughts were, because usually, more than one person asks, but then once one person asks, people either say, are you nuts, or, yeah, that's a good idea. So, how much luck did you have going in your neighborhood there? How many people could you get to?
Pretty much talked to everybody.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I know it was on the agenda for later. Do you wanna talk about it now, or do you wanna talk about it?
Let's do it now, because the chief, has,
Okay.
a
So,
recommendation in here.
Do you wanna come up here so the folks can?
Sure, yeah, sure. So no one was against the idea of controlling any of the intersections that are there.
Good.
There's 3 total, if you look at the map. Primarily, I think most folks are largely concerned about the Leisure Way and Crest Hill Drive, the 4-way intersection that's there. The other 2 intersections are T's, so there's a little bit less going on. But no one was against the idea of having whatever it is that we think is safer for the neighborhood. Literally, no one said we should not have stop signs at any of those things. At any of them, yeah. So the folks that live on Leisure Court, there's the cul-de-sac up there. The only other advice aside from a couple of people said we could put a roundabout in here, but of course that's not gonna happen. One piece of feedback was that normally you would allow the entrance to a subdivision to have the right of way, like the thoroughfare, because if you're coming in, it doesn't make sense to log jam people right at a stop sign as soon as you're coming in the neighborhood, that you would maybe not have a stop sign there, if that was gonna be a thing that people cared about, but it wasn't a strong opinion about it either way. So, really as many stop signs as everyone thinks, people feel safe with, but no yields, because it's practically what we have now is an uncontrolled yield, and nobody really knows what to yield and why. So the feedback was generally stop signs seem like they make the most sense. The only other.
You probably don't know the recommendation here.
No, I don't.
Yeah, we don't have copies of that. So the recommendation is at Crest Hill Drive and Troy Hill Court.
Yep.
To have 1 stop sign on the southeast corner of Troy Hill Court.
Yep.
The Leisure Way and Crest Hill and Leisure Court, which is the 4-way, put a 4-way stop.
Yep.
And then lastly, the Crest Hill Drive and Troy Hill Lane, which is a T intersection, 1 stop sign.
Sure. Okay.
On Crest Hill Drive.
Right, that makes sense. So, I'm looking at the map, I've got it here now so I can see it too. That looks fine. The only other piece of feedback that we had, which is difficult to say anything about now, but I think is worth saying, is that currently our subdivision, we have essentially no signs. We have no speed limits, no stop signs, no yields, we just have street signs. And frankly, it's kind of nice not having 1,000 signs all over the place that say 25 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour.
Why is it in front of my house? Why can't it be in front of yours?
Right. And so, signs are a slippery slope sometimes, or once you start putting them in, all of a sudden you wanna have them everywhere, so we're sort of enjoying not having them currently. And so I guess I just wanted to mention that to you, that we don't necessarily wanna have there be 1,000 signs all over the place.
That was for the report for next month.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, it's coming, right? So, I guess, I'm curious what happens next. So,
It's up to the board.
yeah, right.
Alright, well, the chief did make a recommendation, and I'm just gonna read it so we all see it. Although at this moment in time, there is not a lot of traffic in the subdivision, the following recommendations are made. Obtain citizen participation from those residing in the subdivision, which we just got. Perhaps a petition by those interested in adding stop sign signage. Schedule a listening session with the subdivision citizens and recommendations to the board. Stop sign suggestions are based on the traffic patterns and it's for, 3 locations with a total of 6 signs, which we just talked about those 3 intersections. So, really, it's up to us what we think we should do here. I think, again, for a long time, you know, very slow progress, you know, in that subdivision, is why it really took off the last year and a half, you know? So is it time? Yeah, it probably is. But really, it's up to us. I don't know if you guys ever drove through that subdivision, but, it's nice and curvy and peaceful. So, I would recommend against making an intersection controlled one way, not the other, like a 4-way stop sign. I get somebody that's gonna go straight through, and the other person's saying, well, I got a stop sign, so he must have one, even though it's people that live there, but there's a lot of contractors and whatever. I don't think putting 2 at that 4-way intersection would be a good idea, but 4 is what's recommended. So, as far as having a, I think you call it a listening session, I think that since John basically talked to everybody there, I think that in effect fulfilled that, I would think. So it's really up to us. And, as you know, we get a lot of requests for stop signs. And once the stop signs are in there, then we'll have to authorize Jim to update the ordinance, cause you can't write a ticket for a stop sign violation without the location being listed, correct?
Right.
The cost would be, $193 each, so say 200 each, so we're talking about, you know, $1,200, you know? Certainly, if it, you know, prevents one accident, you're good with the money, so it's not a money deal anyway. So, I think it's probably a good thing to.
Well, I mean, looking at, eventually they're gonna have to go in anyway. We do it right now, or do we do it in the spring? Because who knows what groundbreaking is happening. It's starting to be a safety issue with construction traffic coming in with more and more. My opinion, I say we put the stop signs in, because they have to eventually go in there.
Yeah, it's not gonna, the traffic will not get less,
Right.
you know, that's a fact, so.
We kinda got a gift with this fall's weather, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if they get put in, we can authorize, you know, DPW to do that, but they have to figure a hotline in anyway, right? You can't just drill a hole in the ground, so that takes 3 to 10 days. It's supposed to be 3, but I don't know how good it's been lately. And then we'd have to put on the, next month's, again, to authorize you to review the ordinance, so. You in agreement too, you think it's good, yeah? All right, so we make a motion to approve the stop sign as recommended by the chief.
I'll make a motion to approve the stop sign for, was it Troyville Estates? With a recommendation by, Chief Jensen.
One second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So, John, go ahead and order, I'm sure you're gonna have 6 signs laying around. Order
Let's
that
take it
and
for
post.
someone else.
And the bigger hotline, as soon as you get them in before she freezes up, good. That'd be the plan. All right, and the chief said, is there any questions on his report? I didn't see any other than I'll note that, I think it was your hiring, process, you're interviewing 7, or all interviews with 7 candidates tomorrow?
Nope.
Okay,
No, sir, it's down to 3. 4 of them said they're not interested anymore.
okay, so we're down to 3.
But that happens in hiring processes. I'm glad that they called and gave us the courtesy call to tell us. Yeah.
Have you met the 3 of them at all?
No, that,
Tomorrow.
we have not, tomorrow's the day.
Tomorrow, the meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 canceled, that's what it was, I reversed.
Are those in person or on the phone?
In person.
Okay, anything else, you good?
No, sir,
All right, thank you, chief.
thank you.
All right, Supervisor Church at 7:18. We are up to East Troy Area Emergency Services District report.
But it's not, it's something that can be.
On October fourth, the East Troy Emergency Services District hired its first full-time interim chief. We hired Joe DeGaro, it was a promotion, he had been the lieutenant, running the EMS. Actually, our ambulance service runs on his license. Today we swore him in, Judge Cotter just finished the swearing in ceremony. He was hired with a vote of confidence from the membership of the East Troy Area Emergency Services District. Currently, the East Troy Area Emergency Services District is running approximately 80 calls a month. We are looking to exceed over 800 calls in 1 year. This is 150 calls over what we did any previous year. And last year was a record year for us. So that is the reason why we need to move the department into the new era and actually start with a municipal chief. Joe will be doing the day-to-day responsibilities. The EMS side is still being overseen by Joe DeGaro, as it is his medical license that is certified by Dr. Schultz from Waukesha Memorial, and he will continue classes until he is state and NFP, which is National Fire Protection Agency certified. So that's the big news from the fire district.
Okay, thank you.
About snow plowing.
That would be, we're waiting to hear from Todd.
Yeah, I'm still in contact with Jason with the village.
Yeah,
So it's probably gonna end up still having Benchmark plow it, and we will tidy it up and salt after that. And
Okay.
charge.
Benchmark charges the district $2,500 a year. Anything over that is donated, and so if we get help from the village and the town of East Troy, that makes it all the better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, park committee report. Michelle, anything?
No, but I was gonna ask you on the pavilion, if we have dates.
Yes, it's the 23rd of October, 11 a.m. And we have to get it on our calendar, it's not on the website calendar yet, it's gonna be put on. It's not, both gentlemen have requested that it not become a blowout affair, and I says, well, it's also October 23rd, you know, so, you know, what the weather's gonna be like, and, but, you know, those two gentlemen have given a tremendous amount of time and talent to the town, and as you notice, the sign is up on both sides of it. Greg, that was one of Greg's last things he did out Big Bend, is that where we went?
Yeah, that's TS Customs, and that's actually Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
It actually looks really good.
It fits nice and uses the right color screws and everything, that's cool. So, yeah, that's what that is, so it's gotta get on the calendar.
11?
11 a.m.
11 a.m., yep. And then I would think it would take much more than a half hour, but, yeah. So, yeah, and again, make sure it gets on the calendar, and then I'll do some coordination with the town here on what else we have to do, you know, but I think it's not gonna be, no bands ordered, if there's a request. Anything else from us?
No, I think more budget related, Pete had some ideas when we talked about, we take one more reflection, that would probably be more budget.
Lake Memorial Park report?
Not much, the seawall is done, it looks great, I think I reported that, last month, but, yeah, pretty much everything's been pulled as far as equipment and piers, and, yeah, we're starting our indoor meetings.
It looks beautiful. I love the rock and the natural barrier that got put in.
Yeah, it really
That was
does
all
look sharp.
donated, so what a coup. Nice job.
Just some trivia here, the lake is probably down 36 inches since last year.
Mother
You
Nature.
don't have to
Throw
go a
us
hole
what it
through the
is.
side of the.
Got it.
Okay, that's it, yeah? Okay, thank you. Lake Beulah Management District report, Greg, Thomas?
The management district met on Tuesday, September 28th at 5:30. Our next meeting will be held Tuesday, November 16th at 5:30. The aquatic plant harvesting ended at the end of September. The harvesting equipment has been removed from the water. The official buoys that have been, that were placed by the management district have also been removed. There are a few private buoys still in the lake that need to be taken out. The lake and pond consultants will have their aquatic plant report survey by the end of the year, and this is a requirement to maintain our permit with the DNR to harvest aquatic plants in the lake. At the September meeting, there was discussion regarding the lake bed monitoring and water quality of Lake Beulah. Water temperature and quality at the lake bed are sensitive conditions that are crucial to the healthy aquatic and fish wildlife in the lake. These are key components to a healthy lake ecosystem. Essential to these conditions is both the flow of groundwater discharging through the lake bottom, but also the quality of the lake bed itself. The quality of the lake bed is affected by the groundwater discharge into the lake, but also inappropriate activity on the lake. Props that are set too low or excessive speed through shallow areas can also disrupt the wake bottom. The management district has placed sensors at the bottom of the lake to measure one of those capacities of the bed is that's the inflow from the aquifer from the lake bed into the lake. And it's trying to monitor whether the effects of well number 7 pumping will reverse the flow of that water, and the lake rely on mostly groundwater supply. The management district had a presentation by Rich Hoff. He's the director of the Walworth County Department of Public Works. Gave a presentation to the commissioners. The Walworth County Department of Public Works, Wisconsin DNR, and the Wisconsin Department of Transportation are concerned about the vegetation planted on the Highway J earthen dam along the lake. They have found that the root system of trees and large shrubs actually form a cavitation in the earthen dam that could undermine and weaken the Highway J earthworm dam. The Department of Public Works, Walworth County, is giving us a 2-year window to deal with the problem. The county has control within the right-of-way of County Highway J. Typically it's along there, it's 33 feet from the center of the road. But the DNR and the Department of Transportation are also concerned about vegetation beyond the right of way undermining the dam. The county has offered, to remove all of the vegetation at no cost to both the district, the town, and the residents. But I think the only decision that the district, made at the meeting was to hold a public meeting in March to discuss the issue with the residents along that section of the lake. That's my
The county has been actually monitoring that root system / vegetation in there for, even before the dam was rebuilt or reconstructed. And, there still was, I mean, ultimately it came down to a point where the county kind of agreed that, you know, they owned, right, the dam itself, you know? So the earthen dam, the only difference there is, again, we have a road on top of it, but the road bed itself, or the structure of the road, in effect is a dam. So that's, I don't know how that'd be different, the concrete dam versus the earthen dam. But they've, offered to remove all vegetation, but does that solve the problem? Because when the
Well,
rest-
they're concerned on the lakeside of the
Well, that was my question, I mean, as little as I do know about dams, but with like Louisiana, one of the problems is like if you have the sticks and you have your root systems, water will follow it, is that what I'm understanding, and that's what they're saying is penetrating?
Especially when the roots rot, I mean, you have
But
the.
then you have to get rid of the roots too, I mean, cutting a tree down doesn't make
See,
a
if you
difference
kill
in
the
the ground
tree-
dam, right?
You kill the tree, the root channel is still there, and that root will decompose, and now you have, well, still a channel.
Leave the trees alone.
Right, so how do you fix it? If I just cut down the trees, you gotta get rid of the roots too, in theory, to make.
Could be.
Right.
It's a very serious situation. I'm in the management district also, but it's serious. Not only that, but there's a there's a blatant violation, of the, facility along there. Because the right of way of the road goes out 33 feet from the center.
Correct.
And the structures are about 25 feet from the center. So they're violating the county right of way there. And on top of that, they drilled down and there's trees there, shrubs. It's gonna be a mess.
There is, I mean, this is way hard for the horse, but you could put a sheet pile cutoff wall down the entire length, right, to the berry, okay? And it's cutoff wall.
Yeah.
But now you then use a shear plane, so where do you put that, middle of the road, side of the road, which side? It's complicated, you know, there is a way to fix it, you know, but.
So what's the end game here? What's the end game?
Your game is.
To remove all piers?
Oh, I don't know.
trees,
It's up to the county,
trees?
but it's serious, I mean.
Well, it sounds that way, that's why.
Yeah,
I'm
well, the
asking.
town had the same problem on, East Shore Road. I know you took action, Joe, and they had to move the stuff back, didn't they?
Yes.
I think part of, Rich Huff's presentation was also discussing, storage of piers in the winter condition and snow plowing. Same
Yeah.
issues that.
It's same issue, but that one there, it's county trunk, so the county owns the right of way, and of course, it's the public that got the full right use and enjoyment, whatever.
Mhm.
But it was always